So, have you ever wondered how security pros figure out, where to put a camera? Or why a company suddenly needs a guard at the front desk? Well, I'll tell you, it is not guesswork. It's a professional framework, a way of thinking about and managing risk. So let's dive in and learn how to think like they do. It all boils down to this one simple question. What are the three things that absolutely have to be there for any risk to even exist? The answer? It's a super powerful mental model you can apply to pretty much anything, your business, your home, even your personal data online. Let's unpack it.
All right, the pros call this the Security Trinity, and really it's the foundation for all risk management. It's made up of three core building blocks that I promise, once you get them, you're going to start seeing them everywhere.
Okay, first up, the asset. An asset is simply anything you care about, right? Anything that has value. So let's imagine a bookstore. An asset could be the rare first edition books, obviously, but it could also be the customer credit card info in their computer system, or even something intangible like the store's great reputation. Next, for there to be a risk, you need a threat. Now, this is the person or the event that could actually harm your asset. So for that rare book in our bookstore, the threat is a person, a professional shoplifter. But for the building itself, a threat could just be an event, like a fire from some old wiring, or even a flood if you're in a coastal town.
And here's the third and maybe the most important piece of the puzzle, the vulnerability. This is the key. It's the weakness, the opening that lets the threat get to the asset. It's not the door itself, it's the broken lock on the door. So back in our bookstore, a vulnerability could be the fact they have no security cameras, or maybe the staff hasn't been trained to spot a thief.
And here it is, all put together. You see? You've got the asset, the rare books, you've got the threat, the shoplifter, and you've got the vulnerability. No security cameras. The real aha moment here is that you need all three for a risk to exist. If you can take away just one of those, guess what? The risk is gone.
So, now that we have the building blocks, let's see how they actually fit together. Security pros use a really simple but powerful mental formula to understand how all these pieces interact.
This is it. This is the equation that professionals are constantly running in their heads. Risk equals threat times vulnerability times consequence. Now, this isn't about doing complex math in your head. It's a model for thinking. It just means that if a threat exists and it can exploit a vulnerability, there's going to be a negative consequence for your asset. And that, my friends, is risk.
Which brings us to the most crucial point of all. If any one of those factors is zero, the total risk becomes zero. Think about it. If you have a valuable asset but zero vulnerabilities, like say gold inside an impenetrable vault, there's no risk. Or if you have a vulnerability, like an unlocked door, but no asset inside, just an empty room, there's still no risk. The entire goal of security is to make one of these factors zero. Okay, so we've found a risk. Now what do? Well, first we have to measure it, to figure out how big of a deal it is. And professionals have two main ways of doing this. One is basically based on gut feeling and experience, and the other is based on cold, hard cash. And these two methods are called qualitative and quantitative analysis. But an easier way to think about it is the matrix approach versus the math approach. Qualitative is fast, it's easy, it uses simple categories like low, medium, high. It's actually the most common method. Quantitative, on the other hand, is all about the math. It assigns a specific dollar amount to a risk, which is, let me tell you, perfect for convincing the finance department to open up the checkbook.
So this is a classic risk matrix, the go-to tool for that qualitative approach. It's simple. You just plot the likelihood of something bad happening against the impact it would have if it did. Anything that lands in that red zone, high likelihood, high impact, well, that shoots straight to the top of your to-do list. It's a super fast visual way to prioritize. On the flip side, this number is what you get from the math approach. That 15 grand represents something called the annual loss expectation, or ALE. After doing a quantitative analysis, our bookstore might figure out that it has an expected loss from theft of about $15,000 a year. And now, you've got a hard number to justify spending, say, $5,000 on a new camera system. See how that works? Okay, on to the next step. So you've identified a risk, you've measured it, now you have to actually decide what to do about it. And the good news here is there are only 4 choices. That's it, just 4. So your 4 strategic options are to avoid it,
transfer it, mitigate it, or accept it. So, for our bookstore, they could avoid the risk of someone stealing cash by just going cashless. They could transfer the financial hit by buying insurance. They could mitigate the risk by, installing cameras and training staff. Or, for cheap little paperbacks, they could just accept that some theft is going to happen, because the cost to stop it just isn't worth it.
Now, of those 4 options, mitigation is the big one. This is where security professionals spend like 90% of their time and energy. It's designing the systems, installing the alarms, hiring the guards, reinforcing the doors. It's all about making that bad thing less likely to happen or less damaging if it does.
But all of this technical knowledge is pretty much useless without one final critical layer. Because the most important tool any real pro has is a rock-solid ethical framework that guides every single decision they make.
And this isn't just some textbook problem. I mean, what do you do if your client, the person who's paying your bills, asks you to do something that's clearly illegal? Like, say, wiretap an employee's bathroom. You have to have a clear code to fall back on.
And this right here is the golden rule that professionals use. It's a simple 3-step filter for any tough situation. First, is it illegal? If the answer is yes, the conversation is over. You stop, you refuse. Second, does it create a safety risk for anyone? If yes, you stop immediately. And third, is it a conflict of interest? If it is, you have to disclose it right away.
This quote from the ASIS Code of Ethics just says it all, perfectly. Perform duties in accordance with the law. Your duty to the law is always higher than your duty to your client. That is the hard line in the sand for any true professional, no exceptions. So there you have it. You now know the fundamental framework that security experts use every single day. So the question I want to leave you with is this. When you look at your own world through this lens, through assets, threats, and vulnerabilities, what's one risk you can go out and mitigate today?